would all say, okay, I get it, we're recording. That would be lovely. And if you don't want to show your face, that's fine. And if you don't want to speak, that's, you can hide behind anonymity of Zoom. But Seb's going to share their screen and go through a little bit of a presentation and explanation. And then we'll do some perspective drawing. How's that?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you also for having me here at collaboARTive. I really appreciate it. And let's get started. Here I will share my screen with the PowerPoint that I created. Okay, can everyone see it? Let's see the chat. Can everyone see the?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for carving time to be here. I really appreciate it. And I know you're here to learn linear perspective and two-point perspective. I'll touch upon like our history a part of it first, and then we'll move on to the workshop. And then I also brought paper, different types of paper that you can use for your linear perspective drawing and your two-point perspective, or like the origins of the techniques. Okay. I like this quote: "Learning never exhausts the mind," by Leonardo da Vinci. It's really touches upon some of the things that I firmly believe. So I hope everyone can sort of come to agree also. But this one also I proposed to build for eternity was Filippo Brunelleschi, who we'll talk more about later. But for now, I just really enjoyed these because of different reasons. But
can you go back to the Leonardo one? I didn't catch it.
Oh yeah, learning never exhausts the mind.
Thank you.
Great. And these artists also contributed to what we're going to talk about, today's topic, of course. Brunelleschi's linear perspective. So Brunelleschi, he was an architect, and among other things, was a designer. He would design many things. He also innovated linear perspective through his architectural background. And we'll see that, especially with this photograph, you'll see that the architect Filippo Brunelleschi reintroduced the means of rendering the recession of space called linear perspective. And then we'll go more on how he did that through drawing. There's a lot of, okay, no worries. We just got someone with chat. This will be recorded, so we can definitely send it to you. Just give us the email, right? We will need your email. Sorry, and
do you want me to manage this part?
No, it's okay. And then okay.
Right. Okay.
No worries. So this will be recorded. We'll send it to you. I have audio. Okay, that works well. So nonetheless, well, prior to Filippo Brunelleschi, the Greeks and the Romans mastered the spatial depth, but it was lost in Europe in the early 1400s. Can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me. So now, Filippo Brunelleschi, like I mentioned, it was a designer, Italian architect and designer. He's considered to be the founding father of Renaissance architecture, and you can see this image is the dome on the Florence Cathedral in which he helped design. And it's very innovative during its time because no one else had made anything like this. And so yeah, it was lost, the idea of how to sort of layer the bricks in those specific way. Um, yeah. So here I thought I kind of really enjoy this sort of way in which Brunelleschi depicted space or linear perspective. We'll talk more about the one point perspective, how it's used in art in two-dimensional sort of visual arts. It would say that like in visual arts, yeah, there's linear perspective is very important. But here, so for Brunelleschi, what he did was he made his drawing, as you can see here, and then he poked a hole here, and you can see he's holding a mirror, and he did this behind in front of the building, and he would have to sort of go back to the drawing and make specific sort of because they reflected against the mirror, so you have to make adjustments to the perspective. So that's how he reintroduced it. He reintroduced a linear perspective. That's one example that we have, but um, and then this is a great example of linear perspective. Massacio incorporates Brunelleschi's discovery into art. Massacio is an early Renaissance painter, Italian 1401, 1428, was the first Renaissance painter to incorporate Brunelleschi's discovery into art. So you'll see that here, these are orthogonal lines, the red lines that converge in a vantage point. And this vantage point is called one point perspective because it has one point and everything else recedes or sort of comes to the foreground. In this case, Masaccio did what I would say like is a very specific rendering of space, like specifically linear perspective because of the vantage point and the horizon line. That was very unique. Sometimes the vanishing point most of the time is higher than, so the vantage point is remarkable as well as the use of linear perspective. And so nonetheless, the vantage point is sort of what we see in our periphery, like how things sort of move back in space. Um, yeah, he painted in a low vantage point, Masaccio. And then the subject matter is also very interesting. He always did religious paintings. Nonetheless, Masaccio's Trinity altarpiece was commissioned by the Lenzi family. He was because he's also depicted here. He and his wife are their piously towards a vision of the Holy Trinity. The Lord stands behind his crucified Son, right here, while the dove, which is right here, um, is of the Holy Spirit, which hovers between their heads. And then you see the Virgin Mary and John the Evangelist. But it was a very traditional sort of narrative because it would touch on ideas about religion or this idea of enlightenment or whatnot. Let's see. Already. It was a traditional subject, medieval. So Masaccio took a medieval concept and added it so that it entered a new world, a new frame of how we see like painting in reality. Meaning like how reality is depicted through painting and drawing as well. So a lot of his work, has incorporates linear perspective, not so much two-point perspective, but more linear perspective. Yeah. So anyhow, he also innovated a specific, along with DaVinci's use of perspective, which I'll briefly talk about as well. Um, but the following images shows like lines that are orthogonal. These are orthogonal lines. That vant, uh, the vantage point is made clear by the horizon line, which you can see over here, which You can see also in the far distance the landscape. He was also known for doing other techniques such as fumato and atmospheric perspective. He also innovated. And but here through the structure, it gives it more of a sense of reality along with the techniques he used. It was very unique, but nonetheless, there's also the origins of two-point perspective. And then it was first known diagram of the two-point perspective by Jean Pellerin in his De Artificiali Perspectiva, 1505, which was the first printed treatise on perspective. And then it was further edited by Jean Cousin. It was perfected what he called the tier point technique. The origins of two-point perspective I found them to be very obscure in my research, but it was very interesting to learn about this specifically because it wasn't, I don't know, brought up so as strongly as like linear perspective. But anywho, so yeah, so these are more examples of two-point perspective. You'll see that also the horizon line is right over here. Here is above, and then there's also a three-point perspective, which we will not get into. But the 2 points is because there's 2 points that sort of a line runs across and meets the 2 points together to create a horizon line. And then what you do, you have to place everything on the right. Everything that's on the right, you have to place it according to the vantage point that's on the right. The sides of the buildings and the front of the building and the back of it, or whatever the structure is. So this is also somewhat of an example of different perspective as well. Okay, great. Let's move on. So yeah, so which let's see next. It's the Coronation of Charlemagne is a painting and by the workshop of the Italian Renaissance artist Raphael. The workshops were the guilds, and there's paintings in which are made by his assistants, his studio assistants, as far as I understand it. But nonetheless, the fresco was probably painted by Gianfresco Beni. Yeah, this was a commission to decorate the rooms that are now known as the Stanze de Raffaello in the Apostolic Palace in the Vatican. Oops. Let's go back to it. I want to go back to it. I think, can I? Oh, yeah. It's so striking to look at it in an actual space. Anyhow, so you'll see this is a self-portrait of Raphael. Okay, this is an example in painting of Prince of Orange in Nieuwe Kerk of Delft, Gerard East, 1651. It's oil on panel. This is also, you'll see it more clearly here. I think these are further developments that occur in Dutch painting. Gerard East sort of also develops these techniques further. It gives them, I guess, life to them. But you'll see that the perplexing part of the 2-point perspective is that the vanishing point oftentimes doesn't sit within the picture frame of the painting, or the surface is cropped out. So a lot of the time when you're drawing, you have to sort of rely on either some sort of a rope or something, or your ruler. You should have a ruler that was going to help you establish the vanishing points and the orthogonal lines. So that should be important. And the horizon line is right here, sort of below our purview of the architecture. Yeah. Okay. So here's more clearly the definition of space as it pertains to a linear perspective. So one vanishing point, and then the horizon line, and then the ground plane, and then the orthogonal lines which recede in space, and also kind of guide objects to sort of come forward. And it's a great way of foreshortening. That's one way to foreshorten. When you hear the word foreshorten, that's sort of also thrown in the in one point perspective. But nonetheless, the ground plane sits below the horizon line. So you'll notice that. Um, so here, these lines, you can create guidelines to with your ruler to sort of get these angles that this cube, for example, that sit on the ground plane. And then this is, of course, what seems to be railroad tracks. And you'll see that they've created lines that are horizontal. So when you are, for example, creating a building, like the building needs to follow the horizon line with your ruler, you can make parallel lines so that you can, for example, find the edge of this. So it's best not to use your ruler in diagonally because otherwise you're just creating another perspective which doesn't sort of have a reason with the space, but nonetheless. So here you'll see that these are just sort of what guidelines that we typically don't see, and the vanishing point is cropped out. And there's also, I mean, you can find examples of different, and that, this is a very, when you're making, for example, 2-point or 3-point perspectives, it's almost unusual in the sense in which we create the space. So sometimes it can be enhance an object's sort of volume, and but it's geometrically sort of sitting on the surface on the picture plane. So again, this is the ground plane over here, orthogonal lines that sort of, if you ran these lines all the way through, they weren't cropped out, you would see that they will all meet at a point. So remember, a 2-point perspective has 2 points, making it a 2-point perspective. Okay. Okay, so let's learn how to draw a linear perspective. You'll need, I can grab some sheets. Let me grab them. So, I mean, you can use typically, just a normal piece of paper. Honestly, I think that a piece of paper from like a printer, that works well for me. But I just brought these papers because I thought it was really neat. But these are something that you can use when you're making, for example, drawings. So there's different types of paper. I don't know if you can see it, but there's these are St. Cuthbert's Mill well, this is watercolor paper. You can create different things in perspective using different media. So, for example, you can make a 1-point perspective with watercolor, but there's watercolor paper. This is hot press surface, 140 pounds, 300 grams, acid free, 100 cotton. So that's good because I think all of the papers don't, they're archival, and yeah. But nonetheless, so you'll encounter also different types of surfaces too with the watercolor. So it's different types of surfaces. This is also watercolor, but it's just has more texture too, more teeth. So you're welcome to use watercolor. So these are St. Cuthbert's Mill. That's the name of the papers that I showed you. So you can probably find that. I would assume I think either Strathmore or things like that, or Blick. This is Arches. This is also with this aquarelle watercolor. You can see it, but yeah, you're welcome to use whatever you have as well. But I thought it would be interesting to to show you the different types of paper that we could use. Because when we are drawing, that would be a really good way in which we can sort of make our drawing more interesting, let's say. But the 400 series tone tan mixed media, medium surface is Strathmore medium surface, acid free, 184 pounds, 100 grams, 100% recycled. And it's brown. It has a brown, it's a 400 series tone tan mixed media. So when they say mixed media, you can collage on this too. So, I mean, you could also incorporate that. You know, you can do mixed media with collage and then a drawing or perspective. But nonetheless,
And Seb, I want to let you know I took off the sharing of your presentation. So if you want to go back to it, you have to share again. Just hit share screen again.
okay. Can you see the?
Well, we see you right now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And I'm going to set it up so people can see what you're working on. I'm working on that right now. So we'll add another screen so people can see the table. I'll be bringing that over shortly. It's the lady behind the curtain.
Okay, so I'm going to continue with the different types of paper. There's also oil and acrylic. You can use that. You know, it's up to you. But I know we'll use pencils, and I brought pencils, so I can also go in depth with that as well. Yeah, these are acid-free, making them archival, linen finish, extra large oil and acrylic, Canton. So this is Canton. These both of these are, and they're just exactly the same thing. So, it has some sort of weave to it, right? When you like, if you see it closer, you see the weave of it, the texture that it forms, the pattern.
You can't see it online.
No?
No. A second.
Is anybody else having any problems seeing what the
textures are too subtle
Oh, I see.
for the camera.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, can you see it now?
Nah, it's probably, oh, a little bit.
A little bit, tiny bit, but it's not. Is it?
Oh,
Is it important?
Yeah.
Is it? Is it important? Is it important that we see?
Yeah, because this is a paper that you can buy for your linear perspective.
Okay, thank you.
And this is also watercolor paper. But you can use watercolor paper too to draw. And then we also have a mixed media as well that you can use too. And a pastel. Pastel, the Canton. But anyway, hey, so I'm just gonna use this paper here. And we're gonna sort of start with our the pencils. Actually, let me show you the pencils. You know, I think it's also important because it starts to speak on the values, the different types of values that you can create in your drawing. And I'll show you examples of like linear perspective drawings of maybe buildings, a city landscape, or I don't know, there's so many things out there, or a simple pastoral scene. But these are sketch pencils, graphic. There's different types of so it covers a spectrum. So I believe that there's different types of values, but you won't have to worry about that because you'll use just an HB. But this is a good sort of if you draw and you wanna, you know, go ahead and add sort of depth to your drawings. You can do so with also the types of, so as you will see, 14B is the darkest value here in the spectrum, and then 2B will be the midtone, and then you'll see also that 2H here is the lightest value. So if you take a look at your pencil, you'll see the difference in sort of press of the graphites art. and then you'll see, so you see the difference. This one is H and this one's 14B. So this one will be darker, okay? So we'll use just the HB, which is your typical pencil, like your typical number 2 pencil, right? Okay. Here it is. HB. It should be like this. Anyhow, so we can grab a ruler, and then I'm gonna grab this, and I'm actually gonna draw on the mixed media, extra large Hansen mixed media. It is just to help you when you want to buy paper. You can use this as well. So nonetheless, we're gonna go ahead. Well, let me see. Okay, this one's okay. So let's, for example, okay, is there a way I can share my screen again?
Yeah, just hit share screen. At the bottom, the little green.
Yeah, I just need to.
Yeah, then you just gotta pick the one.
Let's see. Oh. Hello? Okay. Sorry.
Yep, you're good.
I'm trying to figure this out. I just want to show you some quick examples of here, just to get you to envision what, I mean, you saw some examples already with the, but I just want to sort of be more sort of specific about what I'm talking about. So here we go. I just want to show you this because this is a good example of what I'm talking about. Like, for example, some ideas that you sort of that can come from, just like looking at other people's work is also very productive. So you'll notice here that this is a clear sort of idea of what the concept of what 1 point perspective means, and how sort of things recede in the background. And you can also go abstract too, if you're thinking of ideas, that's also one way to introduce. That's a really interesting way to kind of think about a 1 point perspective. Yeah, it's like, and then, well, but that's just a simple 1 point perspective. And you also see that in photography too, right? But this is also something that, but you can use linear perspective and 2 point perspective, but in different ways. I mean, so you'll see here so you'll see the clear distinction between a 1 point perspective and 2 point, because oftentimes it can be rather confusing. Is that it sort of shows the 3-dimensionality more than the 1 point perspective of like the forms and objects.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Do orthogonals always have to be straight, or can you make them wavy? Or
no, they have to be straight. Good question.
Why is that?
With your ruler. Well, I mean, what do you mean of straight? What do you mean by that? Like, do you mean the orthogonal lines? Yes, they always have to be straight, so that you're kind of creating a matrix in a way. Think about it like if you see sort of like if you were to make an artificial space, for example, you would want to sort of make like grids. See, that's another topic. That's another sort of, we get into the realm of something else, but you could sort of make a grid of your linear perspective by incorporating the orthogonal line. So when you're drawing, for example,
When
when
you're ready, people can see what
oh, you can, okay, okay. I don't know where my pencil is. How do these? So where?
see. Switch places. We gotta swap places.
Oh, they can see you.
Yeah, I know. I have
Yeah.
to change over. I'm looking for you. Where are you? Stop sharing. There we go.
Hey, that's amazing. Okay, I think I need
So
to
yeah, you can adjust it.
Can everyone see?
Yep, I can.
Okay, so for example, sorry,
Go ahead. Okay.
is that good? Can you see my drawing? It's a little bit over here, and I think that's where I'll be working. It should be a good view there, I think. Well, if anything, I can move forward a little bit.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
And
yeah, that looks great.
Sort of move forward. And so, for example, if I want to maybe do cityscape, for example, and I want to also emphasize, because everyone hear me? That I want to emphasize something too. Consider the surface you're working on. So I'm working on top of different pages, like different, because I like the mark of the pencil to be nice and somewhat even throughout. But so anyhow, so you want to establish your vanishing point anywhere really. So it could be anywhere. So maybe it could be right here. Like this will be your vanishing. Therefore, that means that your horizon line is right here. And it has to be parallel to the paper. So when we talk about grids, that's also an important component to it. So you can, if you really want to get the horizontal line, sort of parallel to the edges of the paper. So I'm not sure that maybe let's see the vanishing point 4.5. So I'll move my vanishing point to 4.5. Actually, let's move it down a little bit to 4.5. So I'm just establishing the horizon, right? So this is my horizon. So it's okay that these marks are sort of visible. Nonetheless, what this means is that everything here has to sit within the orthogonal line. So when you were asking me if the orthogonals have to be straight, they do have to be straight. They do. In the sense, in this, so I'm gonna go ahead and maybe sort of make the sidewalk of my drawing. The sidewalk of this, I'm making a cityscape, so I'm gonna go ahead and make this drawing. So this is my orthogonal line here. So what if I want the edge of the closest building to me to be right here, like anywhere, it could be anywhere. Well, here, or let's make it a little bit higher. This is kind of up to you, really. I'm just establishing where I wanted to end here, maybe like 5 inches. So I'm doing the buildings. I'm just kind of like building my structure, the structure of the maybe. Okay, so this would be the corner of my building right here. it's gonna take some time, but nonetheless, you can sort of ensure that everything is sort of parallel, but we're just everything. Okay. So we're just kind of in this here, we're sort of winging it, and that that's fine. Here's what you're recognizing it's not, but so that would be maybe like the side of the building.
Can I just say that you are very muffled and the pencil you're using is not visible
Yeah,
in the,
it's very light. Maybe you should
can
get
you, like a
heavier.
Sharpie or something would be much better for us to see.
Same thing. I'm gonna get you a Sharpie because I'm looking at the screen and you are so right, Michelle. It doesn't show. So don't worry. It's
Okay. You can kind of see it a little bit. Oh, okay. So here, so this is my horizon line, right? This is my vanishing point. Vanishing. You,
I know.
can you see it, or is that? Can you see it, or is that not?
That shows up better actually. That is darker. You want to hand me the Sharpie? Can everyone see that better?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you brought it closer.
The horizon line is happening.
Okay, but if you use like a 6B.
I used an H.
Yeah, that's really light.
Yeah,
Yeah, if we go to a HB or I mean a 2B, a 6B, that'll be nice and dark.
yeah. So,
Because you can see it, but the camera doesn't always take it.
yeah.
May I ask? I have a question.
Yeah.
What comes first, the horizon line first, or do we establish the vantage point first?
You establish the vanishing point first,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
and then the horizon line comes after. However, there's often times in which, for in Massacio's case, which is very I mean, different. He kind of established the horizon line as well, but nonetheless, you can, yeah. It's I usually put my vanishing point first. So you could also go.
Oh, so he would design the horizon line and then put the vanishing point, Massacio?
Yeah, I believe so. And then
Oh.
that's kind of like how I sort of,
No, I like what you do. Vanishing point, horizon.
First vanishing point.
Because now you know where you're going to go.
Horizon. So that should kind of dictate, for example, this is the corner of my building here. So the edge of that, we'll get into the detail, but should be parallel. My ruler should be parallel to the edge of the bridge. So that's the edge, and that's kind of top.
Excuse me. Your voice is low, and I can't hear you too well. If you could speak nearer to the mic, because I have my
I'm sorry. Okay.
my volume to the highest.
Same here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. This is the edge of my building.
Can I turn this around? I'm afraid to move it because it'll.
Yeah, I don't think it's okay. I can see it.
Connection, but
yeah. So my
so they're just having a hard time hearing you because you speak so softly.
Okay, do you have a mic?
I do, but I don't have anywhere to plug it into your computer.
Let me see. Yeah.
Yeah. We're working on it. We're working it out. Okay. Oh, you know what? Oh, that doesn't have on. Let's see if this.
Yeah, you could do it. Yeah.
Doesn't have audio, but let's see if this will do. I don't think this is going to work. Let's see. Does this help? Does what? This one's not attached to audio. All right, you're just gonna have to speak up, my friend. I'm working on it. Keep talking.
Where to?
Well, it's not attached to audio.
So to the computer. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I hear you.
All right. Now you can hear me. Okay, let me see. Um, okay, all right. I think we're good, right? Alrighty. But okay, so here we go. I hope you can see that. The horizon line and these of course are the orthogonal lines. I'll just say orthogonal. Nice. So okay, so next you want to incorporate the building, the back of the building. You have to. I mean, just for. Oh no, you don't have to, but I like to do it. So actually, we'll move on. Like, what if there's like a space in between these and here? You can make it here with the point. You pointed here in the orthogonal lines. So you see that I can start another sort of building there. And then this building maybe ends here. Oh, of course. And then let's suppose like my building, where does my building end? The first one, the facade of it, for example. Where does that end? So you'll draw according to the, do you see that? The horizon line here? You'll notice that let's see, sorry, I'm trying to get it in frame so you can see it. Okay, there we go. So I'm over here. The end of the building could be maybe it ends somewhere over here or something. Somewhere up here. Somewhere up here. So in order to get that angle here, you'll come to the vanishing point. So the vanishing point is right there. So you'll draw a line. See, I had it incorrect. I had it incorrect here. You know, if I eyeballed it, but now with the ruler, I can rectify that. So this is where my building ends, right here. And then my other building ends right over here. And remember that this line's an orthogonal line, so it dictates where I sit in space. That's also very thing to keep sort of, you know, but nonetheless, so here I have to make another parallel line, the edge of my page. See if I can make this a little bit. I don't get it incorrectly, but so you'll see that you have to make a parallel line. So where do you sit? You can measure it here. Okay, we'll move on. So the edge of the, let's suppose that the edge of the well, the building ends here. We can make it and here because it's smaller. Things get smaller as they go back in space, as they go from the vanishing point further on. So that's I don't know if you can start seeing like, okay, if I were to incorporate I don't know, like a door, for example. Like door would be up here, like this. And then I come back with the orthogonal lines to the vanishing point, and then that is where my door is. So I'm creating my door, for example. And so this would be with the door, and you know, like the knob of the door can be something that you sort of, but nonetheless, you see, I can add a window here. or actually, let me, it's important that everything. So if I have like windows here, I'm drawing orthogonal lines. Here. The windows typically are not very big, so compared to doors. So for example, you see that I'm making the frame of the windows. So if I wanted to add some windows here, I can. Awesome. More windows. Go ahead. So for example, so anyway, can you hear me? Okay. So I've made my windows here. So maybe, but nonetheless, so this building up here.
No, don't worry. It's working. Does everyone hear him better now?
This is turned around so that it's like long ways. Which is a long ways for this? This is so.
Well, what are you trying to do? Like long ways?
Yeah, so everyone can see the whole paper.
Yeah.
Where's the like
It's a
no. Oh my God.
It's a see. Hang on, first of all. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. The technology of this is not perfect. So, how's that?
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you. That's great. Okay. So you'll see this is my drawing so far.
All right.
Okay, so next we can draw maybe well, we have to finish these buildings. So right here. And this building, of course, is parallel to that. So basically, I'm just laying out everything, mapping out the buildings. I haven't done the sidewalk yet, but sidewalk is maybe over here. Maybe this could be the sidewalk.
Great. Sound is much better than said.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Sorry about that.
And then you can make it the edge of the. Where the sidewalk ends. Oh no, it's moving. So technically you want a ruler that has a cork in the back. Like that would be like cork in the back laid out, but that would be ideal. That would be ideal, I would say. Those help a lot with shifting. Yeah. So if you ever are making like something in perspective, it's consider the tools. The tools are very important when you're drawing, you know. I tell this to my students all the time. Yeah, consider the tools that you're using in drawing, especially in drawing. It's just in drawing. You know, that's what I tell everyone. Just make sure everything, pencils are sharpened, and I'm gonna have to exaggerate the side of the side of the sidewalk, because this is a really round pencil. Anywho, okay, so the sidewalks. So we can add maybe a building that's higher than this one. It's not a zero. And then maybe and then orthogonal line. So you add another orthogonal line. So maybe this is the edge of this building here. You'll see it clearly. So then next, you'll see that the building ends here, and so you have to make another line. and make the edge of that building, which, what if, so that's it. So for this building,
I think
it
it's the
goes
mic on
back.
your shirt. That's
Okay.
it's very sound sensitive.
Okay. So, anyhow, I'm gonna add the edge of this building that goes in the back. So you're drawing sort of imaginary areas of the drawing, but I think it's important to establish what's behind the facade of these buildings so that you know how to structure the building, where the building ends.
So this kind of resolves the issue of people who say, oh, I can't draw a straight line.
It really does. It really does. I mean, I think that, you know, when you use this technique, it's really makes things sort of very direct, like very kind of clear. I think that's perspective is a very clear point of view of reality. So it's that's really what you'll see, I think, for me a lot in like when you identify like linear perspective. I mean, but then there's like different types of perspectives. So
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
Where there's 1 point and 2 point.
there's 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, and then atmospheric perspective, which is just like the vague iteration of like a space.
You don't have to draw a straight line for that one.
No, those don't require straight lines. They are they're more organic.
Those are non-artist friendly.
So now I'm adding the sidewalk of the,
So I have a question for you.
yes.
In your practice of making work, do you use perspective at all?
I would say that I use a different type of method of creating space, like shallow space. You often see shallow space in manuscripts, you know, in medieval manuscripts. So I kind of incorporated a different type of sort of perspective that that was actually that came prior to the invention of or like the reintroduction of linear perspective from Brunelleschi. So it was they were that's what was so innovative about Massacio was that he was able to um, generate life, depict life, and bring it into reality. So it was like
Can I ask a
really
question?
innovative. Yeah.
So two of the things you showed us, sorry, I seem to be echoing. Two of the things you showed us had were people, not buildings, like the Last Supper, and more even the Massacio piece. How do you use the lines when you're drawing figures? Because I know all the lines. I've always known this. All the lines converge on Christ's head, and then there's a box in which the principal players, you know, Peter and Judas, etc., are sitting closest to him. But I don't know how you. What does it? Is that do you draw those lines first, and then you decide that's where the head goes?
Definitely. Definitely. That's a good question, actually. I would say that you can grid everything out. So if you, for example, I'm going to turn this around, but I want to draw a person walking down the sidewalk. You can definitely add, like, where are they going to sort of step?
Oh, right, like where is that?
Like, okay, I want to establish the figure to be over here. You know, and the figure, the way in which you articulate the figure is kind of based on figure drawing. So so you'll see that in figure drawing, they sort of do the same. They render the space in the same manner. So if my door, remember, you want to keep things proportionate to the drawing. So if my door ends here, then everything that, this is your orthogonal line. So that means that my character will have to sit somewhere over here. And it gets larger, and, you know, like the character, I'm just going to do a little, like maybe he's just like,
Blurry guy. An erase eye,
Yeah.
but I do.
So here, you'll see that I'm trying to get the at least the circle, like the head, or just trying to generalize it. Like maybe he's just like, I'm just breaking down the figure into shapes. So maybe you can sort of start out with the structure of the figure here. So for example, the shoulders are parallel, so maybe you can make them so that they are parallel to the horizon line. And you can make like a little cube out of it. Like this is perhaps where your figure will sit, somewhere over here.
Got it.
So you also see that in Leonardo da Vinci's paintings, especially I don't remember he was very well known for not finishing his paintings. And in one, I believe you see the grid that he sort of generates to create the grid of like one point perspective. He creates a grid. So you can do that as well. So I have one now I want to add to the back. So now it's starting to form an X, Y, Z axis. You know, like those sort of charts or things that you sort of see. And so for example, this is the corner of where my figure can sit. And then right here. Where's the one? You always wanna cube things out like we saw earlier. Like cube, and then no, we have to move this. That's okay to draw over the lines, but nonetheless, I guess you don't want to make them too dark. I know I'm making them dark because it's not visible, but technically, you don't want to make the orthogonal lines dark because you're going to erase them. So we have an eraser here, but you can. So this would be a vinyl eraser. So these are good just for like for example, like removing charcoal from a page. Like this vinyl, and you could cut vinyl in different ways. Like you cut them so that they form a really interesting edge. But there's also different types of erasers too. But so here, make sure everything is parallel to, yeah, so that was it. Look around those. There we go. So that was where my person will sit. I would even say, I mean, like I'm trying to capture the motion of my figure. So maybe the head goes over here somewhere. Let me use my eraser. So here, these marks also make interesting marks. You can start kind of generalize the figure here. Maybe the shoulders sort of sit somewhere here. You could use the so maybe they're walking something. So, like to get the angle of the figure walking, that's something that you can sort of I don't know, not generalize, but a kind of either you could look up online like figures, like drawing them in space, or like as a way to kind of understand not the anatomy, but the way in which you would see a figure in a specific point of view.
Like the placement of things.
Yeah, the placement, the point of view in which you're seeing the figure. So nonetheless, I'm kind of familiar with sort of like the figure and the ligaments and how they move, and so
like where the knees are, and
yeah, where the yeah, you'll
I'm wondering if anybody is doing perspective along with Zeb for this workshop. Is anyone else drawing along with us?
Yeah.
Cool. I love that.
So he's in pictures
My
three.
computer's gonna die, so can I ask one last question? Um, do you make the box, the space, within which you're going to have your drawing first before you start doing the vanishing point and everything else?
The box of what? Of the figure?
Well, your canvas or your piece of paper, or things have shapes, right? That have limits, but that they end at some point. So do you want to decide first how much of that substrate you're going to use before you start drawing lines?
Oh, like how much canvas size, right? Like, yeah, the
I'm not
Like, do you
sure.
go all the way to the edge with your picture, or do you not care? Do you just want to make it, start it where you want to start it and do it? That's my only question.
Wait. I'm sorry.
Oh, she means like how do you know where to put the vantage point? Like, how do you know where to start?
Where I put it? I put it somewhere. Well, you're sort of familiar with like just renditions of like city life, for
It's kind of
example.
arbitrary, I guess, depending on how far away you want it to look.
Well, it depends what you want to convey. Sometimes, like it depends what the assignment is. I mean, it's just like this is just a typical like assignment perspective, you know. It's just a way to understand where things sort of sit. But I think that does that answer your question?
Not really, but thank you very much.
No.
I have to go. My computer's dying,
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure.
the picture in later. Have a good evening. Thank you.
All right, Michelle. I think there's two ways you can go about it. You can probably, if you're working on a small substrate, you could probably put a piece of paper behind it and draw your vanishing point, on the paper behind it, and then you could work your perspective into a smaller, piece of paper or canvas to develop the image that you're looking to create without having to expand all the way.
Are you talking about the vanishing point being absent?
If she was like,
well, you don't worry about that.
Paper this big, then the vanishing point couldn't be here because then it would be so tiny. It would still be over here, but her paper is here. So you kind of.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so your vanishing point is like out. Yeah, is that what you're saying?
I think her computer died. Oh, we missed it. All right, so we recorded.
Which okay, but okay, we'll just move.
Find out what she meant.
Well, we will go. I mean, I can go over if that's what she meant. Then yeah, I mean, nonetheless, that's a good point. So what you do is you can meet the rulers. That's one way. You can meet the rulers. You can use a rope. You can use your pencil. You can do measuring and sighting.
The vanishing point off.
Yeah, there's many ways.
That's what she was asking.
There's many ways. So this is one. There's also the rope method. I mean, this is different things.
People might want to start winding down. We
Well,
can push this to 7:30 in case.
So this is what
let me ask, does anybody have specific questions if they want to ask Seb right now? And we could turn off, you could turn off the mute and ask questions or maybe show us what you're working on. That would be great to see too.
Yeah, so typically you'll use like perspective linear perspective drawings when you're trying to like find space. So you can also or like in architecture, people may generate models of buildings. People generate models of buildings, and you'll notice that a lot of you need a lot of practice in developing like your understanding of the linear perspective and the different axes that they have and how they coordinate with each other.
So I think we're down to hi Shu, thanks for being here. Welcome back. And Christine and Camille. I think we'll wind down. This has been very informational. I hope all of you learned something, discovered something new.
Did anybody learn anything new? Is anybody, I guess I'm interested in knowing, why did everybody want to kind of learn about perspective? Does anybody have, yeah, can we hear?
There. All right. Well, let's see. If nobody has any comments,
Any questions
or questions, I think we will end the session. And I just want to say thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you, and thank you.
Questions, you can always email us. We will come up with another workshop to do soon.
Yes, thank you.
And we hope to share another one with you soon.
Yes.
So thanks for being here. Oh, here we go. To improve drawing. Excellent.
Where?
We did do a recording, Shu. Thank you. We will absolutely share it. Definitely. So,
and if you have any more questions, and you know in the future, just make sure that you like perspective, like you could reference like these sort of things on
you know what?
things in Google.
Incorporating into collage.
Things in Google. You can use Google. There's many different ways to kind of, if you're not understanding, or you can just like ask questions further to me or anything like that. That'd be great.
Email out, and I'm going to ask like ideas for other just drawing on discoveries. I think, oh look, see, shallow perspective. You see, somebody learned something. If they said Shu says the shallow perspective was interesting. Thank you for that. We really appreciate the feedback. We really do.
Yeah, there's different types of spaces. You'll see that shallow space. Oftentimes you'll see that in well, no, it's atmospheric perspective. It's not shallow perspective, it's atmospheric perspective. It's shallow space. It's shallow space. There's different types of space that, for example, you see shallow space in works by Braque and Picasso, where they're developing the analytical cubism and things like that, or synthetic cubism. So you see that that's sort of one point in which that's demonstrated in visual arts. So, but then the medieval one is also another one, like the shallow space. It would be atmospheric perspective, which you often see atmospheric perspective in I don't know, like Leonardo da Vinci's work sometimes, or like in like Asian
background.
Yeah, or like in Asian kind of countries, like Chinese works. There's also atmospheric perspective, but there's also 3-point perspective, which we didn't really cover, but
Prince of Mountainside views. Exactly.
Sorry, what's that?
Like Prince of Mountainside.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, the atmospheric perspective, which it's compared to this it's like rather a little bit more simple.
All right. Well, you ready to say goodnight?
Yeah. If there are no questions or comments, I would like to hear anybody. If you have anything, that'd be great. Thank you.
We will. There'll be an email that goes out to say thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And we do appreciate you showing up.
Yes, thank you so much.
We'll do something like this again. So, thanks for being here. Yes, it was recorded. Yes, we will share it. And
thank you for, bearing with the technical difficulties and just like,
Working it out. Now we know.
Yeah.
Microphone.
We'll move forward according.
So thank you, everyone. Have a lovely night and a great weekend. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Have a good evening.
Bye. Oh, thank you. Bye.